Hello and welcome to Module 4, Subject-Verb Agreement. The grammatical term tense refers to the time of action expressed in the verb. In the standard American English dialect, the present tense of the verb has certain characteristics depending on the subject that it is used with it. The principle of subject-verb agreement states that verbs must agree with their subjects in number. If the subject is he, she, it, or any singular subject, the verb must also be singular, representing one. A singular verb in the third person ends in s. This s ending is referred to as an s marker. The subject and verb in the following sentence agree in number because both are singular. The girl with her bucket full of sand plays on the beach. The subject girl is singular, so the present tense verb plays ends in s. If you know that the subject is singular and the third person, not I or you, read the sentence substituting he, she, or it, and you will get the correct verb. The girl plays on the beach. She plays on the beach. If the subject is we, they, or any plural subject, the verb in the present tense must be plural. Plural verbs do not end in s. The subject and the verb are said to agree because both are plural, representing more than one. The girls, with their buckets full of sand, play on the beach. This time the subject girls is plural, so the verb play does not end in s. If you know that the subject is plural, read the sentence substituting the word they for the subject, and you'll be able to read the sentence correctly. They play on the beach. There are no exceptions to the s marker on the third person singular verb. Many students get confused because they associate the letter s with plural words. Plural subjects, unless they are irregular nouns or pronouns, do end in s, but plural verbs do not. The letter s on a verb always makes it singular. Note that first person singular, second person singular, and first, second, and third person plural subjects all have present tense verbs that do not end in s. The only time the s marker appears on a present tense verb is with a third person singular subject. For example, these are noun and present tense verb endings. With nouns, singular, no s. For example, table. Endings, plural, add an s. For example, tables. Verbs, singular, s in the third person, is, and endings, plural, no s, are. Now let's look at present tense verb endings. Singular, first person, I walk. Second person, you walk. Third person, he, she, it, or any singular subject, walks. For the plural, we have first person, we walk. Second person, you walk. And third person, they, or any plural subject, walk. Many students and English teachers alike have wondered why the s marker exists on the third person, singular, and present tense verbs. Whatever the reason, the presence of the s marker makes mastering the subject-verb agreement difficult for those who are learning English as a second language. Almost every writer at one time or another has problems with subject-verb agreement when the subject is difficult to find and the correct verb is thus difficult to hear. In these situations, students, after hearing the correct answer according to SAE, often exclaim, "That sentence just doesn't sound right." In the following situations, the subject is often hard to spot and the correct verb difficult to determine. In every case, the verb is in the present tense. Let's look at case 1. When the subject is separated from the verb by one or more phrases, the subject, not the noun in the phrase, determines the verb. For example, The students, that's students is the subject. In the front row is the phrase. Of the classroom is another prepositional phrase. Take good notes. Note that the verb is take. In this sentence, the subject is students because the word students answers the question, who takes good notes? The two phrases that come between the subject and the verbs are prepositional phrases. Since the subject is plural, the verb take does not end in S. Let's look at another example. One of the team members waits for the coach. One is the subject. Of the team members is a prepositional phrase, and the verb is waits. Here the subject of the sentence is harder to find. Keep in mind that the subject of the sentence will not appear in a prepositional phrase. We learned that earlier. Therefore, the answer to who waits for the coach is one, not team members. Since one is singular and in the third person, the verb waits ends in the S marker. Let's look at another example. John, as well as his brothers, wants to go with us. John is the subject, as well as his brothers is the prepositional phrase, and the verb is wants. In the first sentence, the phrase as well as his brothers does not affect the verb. However, the placement of the verb next to the subject makes the correct verb hard to find. In the second sentence, the phrase along with John does not affect the verb. In all of the examples, the subject, not the noun in the prepositional phrase, determines the verb. This arrangement, subject, prepositional phrase, verb, is common in both student and professional writing. So, it's essential that student writers master this pattern. Now let's look at case 2. When the word and joins two or more subjects, the subjects are considered plural, and the verb in the present tense must also be plural. That means there's no S. Here's an example. Laura and Kathy work hard to achieve their goals. In this example, the subject, Laura, is joined with the subject, Kathy, by and. The word and functions as an additional sign. Therefore, the subjects Laura and Kathy are plural. If you substitute the pronoun they for the subjects, you can determine that the verb is plural. They work. The same rule applies in the following cases. Mark and his wife Gail enjoy going to the movies. The student in the last seat of the first row and the student in the first seat of the last row are brother and sister. Caution: occasionally, an exception to this rule occurs when two subjects connected by and create a subject that cannot be separated into two units because it acts as an individual subject. For example, rock and roll is my favorite type of music. Bacon and eggs is my family's favorite breakfast. We can't really separate these subjects. Now let's look at case 3. When two or more subjects are joined together by or, nor, either, or, neither, nor, the subject closest to the verb determines whether the verb is singular or plural. If the subject closest to the verb is singular, then the verb is singular, which means that it ends in S. If the subject closest to the verb is plural, then the verb is plural. That means it does not end in S. For example, Jan or her sisters are coming with us. In this sentence, two subjects, Jan and sisters, are linked by the word or. Since the subject sisters is closest to the verb and the word sisters is plural, then the verb is plural. It does not end in an S. However, if the sentence had been written, her sisters or Jan is coming with us, the verb would be singular with the S marker, since the subject Jan is closest to the verb. The same principle applies to these sentences. Jan nor her sisters are coming with us. Her sisters nor Jan is coming with us. Either Jan or her sisters are coming with us. Neither Jan nor her sisters are coming with us, and neither her sisters nor Jan is coming with us. Notice how each of the above sentences, the subject in italics, controls whether the verb is singular or plural. While the word and between two subjects makes the subjects plural, the use of or, nor, either, or neither, nor to join two subjects means that only the subject closest to the verb will control the verb. Next, we'll look at case 4. When the subject of the sentence is singular but represents a group of people acting as a whole, the verb is singular. These subjects are called collective nouns and include such words as class, committee, company, crew, family, group, jury, and team. The jury announces the verdict. Note that the verb has an S. The team plays tomorrow night for the championship. Plays has an S. The committee appoints the chairperson. S. The family plans to take a 3-week vacation. Plans. In all of those examples, with the noun as a collective noun, the verb has an S. Next, we'll look at case 5. In a sentence beginning with there or here, the subject following the verb determines whether the verb is singular or plural. There go the girls. Here is today's newspaper. The best way to determine the correct verb is to change the sentence so that the subject comes first. The girls go there. Today's newspaper is here. Be careful when you begin a sentence with the contraction theirs. Remember that theirs stands for there is. Even though the sentence, there's the girls, can be acceptable in casual conversation, the sentence should be written this way in standard American English dialect. There are the girls. Next, we'll look at case 6. If a sentence begins with one or more prepositional phrases followed immediately by a verb, the subject following the verb controls whether the verb is singular or plural. For example, on the wall are several posters of famous musicians. Beneath her bed are her shoes, her socks, her school books. Underneath the table is the cat eating leftovers. These sentences are said to be inverted because the subject follow the verbs. As in case 5, the easiest way to get to the correct verb is to turn the sentence around so the subject comes before the verb. For example, several posters of famous musicians are on the wall. Her shoes, her socks, and her school books are beneath her bed. The cat eating leftovers is underneath the table. Note that the subject comes first, which makes the verb easier to identify. These inverted sentences are commonly found in observation paragraphs. Therefore, recognize inverted sentence patterns is important. Finally, we're going to look at case 7. When the subject of the sentence is an indefinite pronoun, the verb is singular or plural depending on which indefinite pronoun is used. The indefinite pronouns listed below are all singular. Everyone, someone, no one. Everybody, somebody, nobody. Either of, neither of, each of. These pronouns can be easily memorized if you will learn them as they appear above. All of the one words, all of the body words, and the last 3, either, neither, and each, Also, the word of appears following either, neither, and each, because these indefinite pronouns are usually followed by a prepositional phrase beginning with of. You need to memorize indefinite pronouns because even students who generally use standard American English dialect have occasional problems with indefinite pronouns used as subjects. Let's look at some more examples. Everyone loves pizza, pepperoni pizza. Someone loves pepperoni pizza. No one loves pepperoni pizza. Everybody loves pepperoni pizza. Somebody loves somebody loves pepperoni pizza. I bet you can't say these really fast. And nobody loves pepperoni pizza. Either of the girls loves pepperoni pizza. Neither neither of the guys loves pepperoni pizza. Each of the children loves pepperoni pizza. Notice how the verb is singular. All the verbs end in S in each of the sentences that I've just read. While the S on the first 6 verbs is easy to hear and write, it is much more difficult to hear and write the S when the pronoun either of, neither of, or each of is used as the subject. If you have trouble determining the correct verb, substitute the word one for any of the indefinite pronouns above. One loves pepperoni pizza. One of the girls loves pepperoni pizza. One of the guys loves pepperoni pizza. One of the children loves pepperoni pizza. The indefinite pronouns none and some are sometimes singular or sometimes plural, depending on the context of the sentence. None of the food was left on the plates. None of the students come late to class. Some of the food was left on the plates. Some of the students come late to class. If you have trouble with none or some, substitute no for none of the or omit the words of the following the word some. No food was left on the plates. No students come late to class. Some food was left on the plates. Some students come late to class. The best way to master subject-verb agreement is to practice through your writing. Mastery of subject-verb agreement is essential for all writers who compose for an educated readers. Those readers who use standard American English dialect expect to see its correct use by writers with whom they come in contact. This completes Module 4, Subject-Verb Agreement. Now we're going to do a skill check. In each sentence, circle the subject and underline the correct verb in parentheses. Fascinating sea creatures lives or live under the ocean surface. First we circle the subject, and we're going to turn it into they, and now we're going to circle the verb. Live. They live under the ocean's surface. If we ask the question, who lives under this ocean surface, we will answer, they live. One of the most fascinating of these creatures is or are the shark. First we take out the prepositional phrases. Then we circle the subject, which is one. And now we're going to circle the verb, is. There swims or swim 2 hammerhead sharks in the tank in front of me. What's the subject? Sharks. What do sharks do? Sharks swim. Each of these hammerheads is or are a bottom feeder. We take out the prepositional phrase, and then we are left with the subject, each. Each is. Coral reefs and the ocean bottom is or are its habitat. We might ask, what is the habitat? Coral reefs and the ocean bottom. We're circling reefs and bottom. So the subject is, or the subjects are reefs and bottom, and then the verb is are. The most notable feature of this hammerhead shark is or are a T-shaped head. We take out the prepositional phrase, and then we're going to circle feature, which is the subject, and next we'll circle the verb is. Scientists believe that the head acts or act as a rudder. Okay, we're going to circle the subject, which is scientists, and we know that scientists believe. Head is also a subject, and head acts, which is a verb. A powerful group of muscles is a prepositional phrase, so we're taking that out. Now we're going to circle the subject, group, and a group provides. So we're circling the verb provides. The shark's brain is or are not as impressive as its teeth, some say. However, we could debate that. Brain is the subject, is the verb. Even large sharks such as those in the tank have or has tiny brains. Sharks is the subject, have is the verb. The eyesight of these sharks is or are probably poor. We're going to take out the prepositional phrase of these sharks. We're going to circle the subject, eyesight, and we're going to circle the verb is. Most sharks rely on their sense of smell rather than their sense of light. Sharks rely. The teeth of this hammerhead is or are sharp. We're taking out the prepositional phrase, circling teeth as the subject, and then underlining the verb, which is are. Several rows of teeth, prepositional phrase, circle the subject. Rows help the shark feed on its prey. That concludes Module 4. Next, we'll be moving to Module 5.